I realized that perfection is not the goal because perfection was holding me back from so many things all throughout my life. I never tried anything. No, I would never raise my hand, never try any new hobbies. And then after this joy journey that I went on, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to try new things at life because life is too short. That's when I went on Real Housewives. I tried stand-up comedy. I started posting on social media, and now I'm like a quote unquote unquote influencer. I'm like, ew.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vonda Wright, and this is Hot for Your Health. Join us for conversations on the bleeding edge of science, health, and culture as we bring you tech innovators, thought leaders, and the movers and shakers who are transforming science fiction into your new health reality. Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Vonda Wright, and thank you for coming again to Hot for Your Health. You know, part of what I've done over the last 10 years of this podcast is talk to innovators and scientists and fascinating people. And today, I've got someone who's all those things wrapped up in one. So Dr. Tiffany Moon is a board certified anesthesiologist and pain specialist. She is a TV superstar with Real Housewives of Dallas. But not only that, she's an entrepreneur. She's a thinker. She's an innovator. And I hope you don't mind me saying it, a mother and wife. And so you're the whole package. And so I'm so glad to have you here on Hot for Your Health today, Dr. Moon.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we're finally connecting.
Absolutely. So, you know, in our day jobs, we might have worked together, right? You on one side of the sheet, I on the other side. And our jobs are, as a surgeon and an anesthesiologist, are so critically entwined. I'm sorry we're not at the same place. It would actually be fun.
I think we would be a hoot in the operating room together.
Because, you know, the reality is, let's talk about this in our training, but the reality is I am the same on the outside that I am on the inside of the OR, meaning if I'm on call and I'm out to dinner with my stilettos on, I am in the OR with my stilettos on. And there are pictures of me during my residency. They're going to laugh. I'm lifting up my mask to put my lipstick on.
I love that. When I was training at UCSF, we had a female liver transplant surgeon, which, you know, transplant surgery is not for the faint of heart, nor is orthopedics. And she would wear stilettos and Chanel pearls while operating. And she is such a legend.
I love that because I think there's a misconception that and maybe it's less now than it was when I trained, but that women surgeons, women doctors have to give something up of their authentic self to fit in.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I did that for years, decades. I was early to graduate. So I got my MD when I was 23.
I read that. Oh my God, girl.
Went straight into residency. So, and then came out and went straight into an academic anesthesia job. So I was 28 years old the first day I was an attending. And many of my residents were older than me. Sometimes a medical student would be older than me, you know, if they were non-traditional. And I just felt that I had to look and act a certain way in order to be taken seriously, not only by my residents and medical students, but by my colleagues and my supervisor and the surgeons across the drapes. And so I hid myself. I didn't talk about fashion or beauty or skincare or luxury purses, which are things that I know about and love. And I kept a very serious demeanor. I didn't joke around. I was very just matter of fact because I thought I'm young. I have a short stature. I'm Asian. I'm a female. All those things work against me in terms of obtaining credibility from other people. I mean, you know, it's not uncommon. I go into a room and they think that I'm the nurse. I've done entire consents for patients going through their past medical history, their risks, benefits, and alternatives of anesthetic techniques, had them sign. And then they're like, do you know when the doctor's coming in? And I'm like,
I
What?
know.
And they weren't meaning the surgeon, like they were meaning the anesthesiologist. And I'm like, what did you think I what? And they're like, oh, we thought you were like the nurse anesthesiologist. And I was like, oh my God. Like I actually introduced myself to you as doctor. And it's not that I have anything against nurses, of course not, but it's just like from my very appearance, I already feel like people are undermining me, and I don't need to further, you know, feed into that by talking about beauty and fashion and makeup and stuff. So
Mhm.
until I was about 35 years old, I played small and hid myself because I was so afraid of what people would think if I showed my full self.
You know what, Tiffany, can I call you Tiffany?
Yes, of course.
I can completely identify with what you said. And just because we're two doctors in the operating room, I think that many women in job situations can identify with what you just said. Because I think if I truly, and I, if I truly showed up in all the ways I can during my residency or even during my first years as an attending, it was too distracting. It was too distracting to be the whole package. And I don't say that in a um in an ego driven way. It's just that I'm capable of a lot of things like you are. And so to make other people feel comfortable, I did exactly what you said. I played small and I was meaner than I had to be.
Mm.
Not purposely meaner, but like you just said, more serious. Like, you are going to think you can date me if I am too fun.
Right. Or
And
you're going to think
so,
I'm giving you permission, or, she was asking for it. And I'm like, no, I was just being nice.
well, and so I feel like I couldn't, it wasn't till I got older and maybe wiser, and maybe, for some people, it might not take as long as I did to be my audacious, authentic self. It took me some time.
Yeah.
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 And, but hopefully, you and I saying things like this will have a little light bulb in people's head like, oh,
I think it's different now. I think it was probably harder for you than for me, and harder for me than the next generation because we have these trailblazers leading the way, showing that you can be a badass physician
mm,
and still have hobbies outside of work that
yeah,
don't deter from your professional obligations.
yeah.
Like when that whole med bikini thing was going around 5 years ago. And I'm
Oh,
like,
right.
why is this even a thing?
Yeah.
Like, why can't a female physician wear a bikini on the beach and hold an alcoholic beverage when she's on vacation? Like, what do you expect her to do? And
Yeah.
then we have to stop holding physicians as a whole, especially female physicians, to a higher standard because we're human. And at the end of the day, like, we just want to relax and have a good time, just like everyone else,
We just happen to have gone to school a lot longer than the average bear, right?
and have more student loans.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, right. How about that? Well, you
Yeah.
know what? I mean, it's comforting. Whenever I talk to another person who lives their life in the OR, it's a very comforting conversation to me because not that many people understand what the Blue Room is about. But
Correct.
I really want to know, listen, in preparation for this, I've seen your beautiful children and your lovely husband, and I know about your work, but I want to know what drives you.
Well, I think previously, before my joy journey, as I call it,
Yeah.
I was driven by the need to succeed
Mm,
because I based my self-worth on how many achievements and accolades I could fill my cup with.
yeah.
I grew up as an immigrant to this country. I came when I was 6 years old,
Mhm.
grew up kind of in a difficult childhood.
Mhm.
And the only thing I was ever good at was school.
Cool.
Yes. And it was the only time that I was praised really. And then I felt loved. I didn't feel unconditional love as a child. I felt that the love that my parents had for me was conditional on that I be a really good student and bring
Yes.
home straight A's. Like it was not acceptable in my home to bring home anything less than an A. If you got a 98 on a math test, my dad would snatch it and be like, "What question did you miss?" Yeah, it was always that kind of growing up. And so, to answer your question, I think in my previous life, I was driven by the need to prove myself in order to feel worthy. And
I
after many years of therapy, soul searching, working with a coach, writing this book, which was very cathartic, I
yeah.
think I'm now driven by my need, not need, my want to help other women in particular. I mean, I want to help everyone, I want to solve world hunger and peace, but really, I want to uplift other professional women who
Yeah.
struggle with their self-worth, their identity, their joy. And that's why I created LeadHer Summit, and that's why I wrote the book.
So the book you're referring to is The Joy Prescription,
Yes.
right? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
So, what did you discover in writing that book? It is not for those of you out there, everybody's like, I've got to write a book. It's not that easy, especially
Oh, I
somebody
have
with
so
a
much tea
soul.
to spill about writing a book if you want to go on a tangent there. I thought that this was going to be an easy process. It has been
It was
long,
so
arduous,
hard.
and expensive.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that. But I wanted to write the book because I felt like I had learned so many lessons in my life and I wanted to share with other people. And you just can't do that on social media. It's not the right platform. With a book, you can go so much deeper.
Mhm.
And I just, I kind of wrote this book for myself, actually, for myself now, and also for the former version of myself who I wish could have had a book like this to tell me, like, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do all the things. You don't have to say yes to every opportunity that comes across your path just because, you feel like you need to, or you'll be disappointing someone if you say no. Like, it's really, the permission to be yourself and to be authentic.
Well, and that's what you say. You compare perfection versus authenticity. Talk to us, drill down on that with us, because
My
we're little girls.
Oh, I wanted to be
There's a
perfect my whole
perfection
life.
standard, right? There's
Yes.
a perfection standard.
Yes, I wanted to be perfect my whole life. 100 was the goal. If there was extra credit, for sure I was going to do it. I was also a figure skater for a brief period of time.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
wasn't very
many eyes.
good, but it feeds into all your perfectionistic tendencies. And then I became an anesthesiologist. Not that other doctors aren't perfectionistic, but it's very precise, and I get
Yes,
to
or people
control a lot.
die.
So it all feeds into my ego.
Mhm.
But I realized that perfection is not the goal because perfection was holding me back from so many things.
How
Because
so? Tell me that. Tell me about
when
that.
when you want to be perfect,
Yeah.
you don't put yourself out there, right? Because then you're trying something new,
Risk.
you might make a mistake, people might laugh at you. And so like all throughout my life, I never tried anything. No, I would never raise my hand, never try any new hobbies, never be the one to like do something silly at the state fair when other people are watching, just like very reserved and playing small. And
Mhm.
then after this joy journey that I went on, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to try new things at life because life is too short for
Yeah.
me to have played small my whole life. So that's when I went on Real Housewives. I tried stand-up comedy. I started posting on social media, and now I'm like a quote unquote unquote influencer. I'm like, ew. Um, but it was giving up the perfectionism trope that
Mhm.
allowed me to have the mindset to try new experiences, which really have brought me like so much joy and opportunity and connections with people that I otherwise would have never been able to connect with.
How did the first few times feel though? Because you make a decision. You're like, I've done all the hard work. I'm going to step off into my authentic self. I'm going to take the risk to try new things. It doesn't mean that the first few
No,
ventures
no. I
felt
was so scared and kind of like watching, like, oh, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Like just very cautious, very trepidatious. But then actually, I kind of figured out like people don't give near as much of a shit as I thought they would. You know what I mean? Like we're
in their own
also
lives.
like you
Yeah.
think everyone's like thinking about you and watching you and critiquing you. They're thinking about what they're going to have for dinner and worrying about their own problems. So like I put myself out there a couple of times and I'm like, huh, nothing bad happened. Like I didn't fall flat on my face and no one even seemed to notice or care. Like I should just keep doing whatever I want to do. Like why should I continue playing small?
how has this pivot in the small period of your life to the really big life period of your life, how do you think that's affecting your children?
I think I'm setting a good example for my children. You know, when I went on Housewives, they were like 5, which is probably kind of the earliest word of memories you have.
Uh-huh.
But they see me trying new things all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
When I planned the summit, they were there with me. They were like helping check people in and pass out gift bags. So they like see mommy working hard. I've taught them that we need to celebrate our little wins. Because I
Mhm.
think when I was a little girl, like my parents never celebrated any wins, theirs nor mine. It was sort of like you reach the finish line and then it like moves. You know, it's like, oh, this great thing happened. What's next? You know? And so I've kind of taught my children that we pause and we celebrate each other's achievements. And I
Mhm.
praise them for their kindness and their curiosity and their creativity and not just like their grades. I'd like to think that I am a good role model for my children and that they don't grow up to be adults who need therapy because of me.
Well, I'm sure you're an amazing role model, but as I'm reflecting on this, you're giving them so much freedom, unrestrained from perfectionism. You're like giving them a life of freedom and courage and being able to explore the ideas that they have, right? I mean, I think as I'm thinking through what you're saying, what a gift.
Yeah, I think it's hard to be a child these days, even though it's easier in some ways. But, you know, social media and everyone cares so much what other people think. And I just want to keep my children in this like little bubble as long as I can. You know, like I'm on social media. I mean, actually, it's one of the many jobs that I have, but I intend to keep my kids off of social media for as long as I can.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
smart. So we've talked a little bit about your book, Joy Prescription, and last November you had the inaugural LeadHer Summit. Talk to us more about that summit. I assume you're doing another one this November.
Yes, I was going to see if you were free.
Oh, well, let's talk about that
Talk
offline.
about it offline. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I
why did you do it? Who are you looking for?
I created LeadHer Summit because I had gone to so many medical conferences and
Mhm.
they were just not it. And then I would talk to my professional female friends and we would be like, you know, what are you struggling in your business? Everyone kind of maybe has a medical practice or something else like a side hustle too. But I also have friends that are in finance. I have a friend who's a stylist, who are lawyers. So the conference is not just for doctors, but a lot of them are doctors. And I just wanted to create a safe space where we
Mhm.
could gather and kind of share our messages and our struggles and give each other some ideas and feedback. We had over 20 amazing speakers last year talking about everything from negotiation strategies, how to build your personal brand using social media. That was Betsy Grunch, Lady Spine Doc.
Oh, I know her,
Amazing.
of
She's a good friend of
course.
mine. My executive coach, Sunny Smith, was there. We had Bonnie Koo talking about how to live a wealthy life, not just in terms of money, but like cultivating wealth. And they say your net worth is your network. So how do you cultivate an amazing network? And just amazing speakers. And we're going to be having it again this year, November 7th through 9th. And
Mhm.
it's just the feedback that I got was so good because I think we created a community where women actually want to empower and uplift each other. There's not this like mean girl or competition. We've just fostered like a great place. And some of the women who met at the conference last year have kept in touch and I
Love
see
it.
their posts on social media and now they're like besties and traveling together and have little, you know, side groups. So that really warms my heart.
So this is a complete personal development venue for women from all different areas. As you look through, as you listen to the 19 other speakers you had last year, are there common things that all women, no matter what field they come from, deal with?
Oh, yes.
So many
Imposter,
commonalities.
imposter syndrome for one.
Huh.
I mean, we had Megatolia, who is the COO of Shondaland. So
Mhm.
she's like Shonda Rhimes' right-hand woman. She works in entertainment. She created like Bridgerton, Inventing Anna, all those Netflix
I
shows that
love
are really
those. Yeah.
popular that I've never
Mhm.
seen because I don't
Oh,
watch TV. Um, and
well,
she's
don't
talking.
start because you will sit there for
No,
12
exactly.
hours to watch
Exactly.
all.
No, I
Yes.
can't start because then I will be sucked in. And somebody was like, Emily in Paris is so good. And I was like,
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
don't have time for that right now. Maybe in the summertime
12
after the
hours
book
later.
launch, but not now. Yeah. And she was talking about imposter syndrome. And I'm looking at her like, you went to Harvard Business School, like your husband is the CEO of Nextdoor, like I just can't imagine that you ever struggle with like feeling like you're not supposed to be there. And it just came up over and over and over again. Another theme that came up is that it's lonely at the top. You're this female professional, you've risen. Sometimes you outgrow some of your childhood friends. It's hard to make new adult friendships because you don't have that, like, oh, we're in university together, we hang out. You don't have that time together. Um, and another thing was just that there's been a lot of failures. You look at everyone's Instagram feed and it's like, oh, it's amazing. They're on vacation, they're celebrating, their business just hit a milestone, they're on a stage speaking. And it's like, no, baby. Like, people don't post about when they're struggling. And I posted that one of my papers was accepted to a major anesthesia peer-reviewed publication, but before that, it had been rejected 3 times. I didn't
Yes.
post those 3 times. I just posted the final one that accepted my paper. And
Yeah.
so it looks like everyone's winning. And so one of the common themes was sharing each other's failures and,
Yeah.
more importantly, the lessons learned from those failures.
Yeah.
And then really lifting each other up. Because generally speaking, no matter what it is you're trying to do, probably somebody has done something similar or enough similar that they have some pearls of wisdom to give you. And so the importance of mentorship,
Mm.
building a community that uplifts you. You have a new business, you need a new website. I'm like, oh, girl, hire my girl. She built a website in 4 days for like a couple thousand. Like, it was such a good deal. And then somebody's like, oh, I want to start running Facebook ads, but I don't know how. I'm like, oh, let me connect you to my Facebook guy. Like, just kind of sharing our connections and uplifting each other.
I love that what you've just if those of you listening, what Tiffany has just described is an abundance attitude, right?
Yes.
In a scarcity world, which is the world I grew up with in orthopedics in general, because there's so few women, a scarcity mentality is there's a pie, and if I give you a piece of my pie, there's less pie for me. But what you just described, Tiffany, is an abundance world, meaning, listen, there's 190 million women in this country. If we all help each other reach more people, we're helping more people, right? And because I give you a piece of the pie, my Facebook guy, it doesn't mean there's less pie for me. And I think that attitude you've just portrayed is so critical for women leaders.
Yes. I think this comes from Carol Dweck's book. She's a Stanford professor and she kind of writes about abundance and scarcity mindset. I will tell you that probably until I was age 30, I had a scarcity mindset, which was, the pie is only so big, so I can't give you any, and I don't want to share my ideas. It's very gatekeeping, as the cool
Yes.
kids would say now, like she's a gatekeeper. And now I just share abundantly because there is enough to go around. And I will tell you, for like every favor or thing that I give to other women, the karma always comes back to me. Maybe not immediately, maybe not this year, but something down the road, they will remember, oh, Tiffany gave me this really good connect and she helped uplift my business. That way, when I'm struggling with something or I need something from them, they're more than willing to help me with it. So it's like, I just tell people, like, keep putting coins in your karma bank because it'll repay.
Well, and I think you are experiencing the same thing I am, which is at this stage in the people that I choose to surround myself with, like you, that um, this is the best community I've ever had of generous, high success women who don't take what I say to you as demoralizing or whatever, or it's amazing the community that women in current leadership rising, the community we're giving to each other to combat this loneliness. Because you're right at the top. I have very few people to talk to unless there are other women who have been on this journey. Or, Tiffany, who would understand the blue room besides
I
other surgeons and the anesthesiologist,
I
right?
know.
So I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for this abundance mentality that I find myself surrounded with now.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
different place to live, and I hope everybody listening will catch a glimpse of it, because what I see on my social media, tell me if what you see, about 90% of the comments I get, because I read a lot of them, it's abundance and helping, and I'm going to try everything, and I'm going to be a risk taker, and if I can't do it now, I'm going to try. But there are still some very broken women who everything I say, they take it as I'm shaming them or demoralizing or fear. And I think that has a lot to do with where they are in life. And I feel bad. What are your
Yes.
thoughts? It doesn't have
Oh,
to be with my message. It has to do with, let me help you get out of this stuck place where everything is a negative, right?
yes. I mean, I wrote a whole chapter about this in the book,
Oh,
but
we'll talk
um,
about that.
I I also get the occasional hate comments or just not nice things, let's just say. And I think most of the time it has way more to deal with the person who is leaving the comment than me. I mean, they see you out there being successful, not only being a physician, but a speaker, talking about longevity and other things besides you're not staying in your lane, like you should just stay in your
Right.
lane and fix
No
bones,
lanes,
right? Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. And you're proliferating and you have an abundance mindset and you have all these friends and all these people cheering you on and they wish that they could do that. They really do. But something is holding them back. And so for them to see you doing it reminds them that they're not. And so they're trying to like drag you down. And all this like, oh, you're shaming me, you're telling me what I should do, you're fear mongering. You're like, no, I am simply providing information. And if you choose not to listen to that information, you can keep scrolling. And in fact, you hate me so much, you can actually block me and I'll never show up
I'll
on your
never
feed
show
again.
up.
Yet you would like to take the time to leave negativity on my feed.
Yeah.
Like, please get a life.
Well, and I feel very bad that as that at that stage in life, that is still, because it's a hard vortex to be in, the negativity life versus the abundance life.
Yeah, and you think that this is like high school behavior, but can I tell you, and I posted this about my social media like a few months ago. We had a charity event in October here in Dallas that I was the co-chair for. Together, the organization raised $1.3 million for victims of domestic violence in our community.
Uh-huh.
About a month after the event was like over, like I didn't even expect, another board member, a female, emailed me to tell me that she and other board members, I'm doing this in air quotes for people who are listening and can't see my air quotes, were concerned about some of my wardrobe choices for board events. And
Huh.
one of the actual lines in her email was, perhaps you should leave the cute short dresses at home. And I was like, oh my God, this lady is like 60 years old. You know what I mean? And her imaginary other board, member friends. And she's emailing me this to like critique my clothing. And I'm just like, is this lady for real right now? Because I legit don't even like think about her. I haven't thought about her since the charity event. And like a month later, she's emailing me to chastise me for my wardrobe choices. And actually, like I posted her email with her name covered up and then posted the outfits that I had worn that she was referring to. And the whole internet was like, oh my God, like this isn't, we expected to see like cleavage, legs, all this stuff. And I had like sleeves on and it was like a little low cut, but not much cleavage. The point that I'm trying to make is that no matter what you do and who you are, if you put yourself out there, there will be someone who has something negative to say about it. Usually behind your back, sometimes to your face, sometimes in the comments of your social media. But like, go ahead and expect that you will get some negative feedback because there are just people that are going to look at you and be like, who does she think she is? You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, there are quotes out there that I usually highlight that, if you don't have a target on your back, you're not working hard enough, or
Exactly.
you're not doing enough good in the world if someone hasn't put a target on your back. And so um, I think even women who are not in the public eye like you and I are can take that to heart, because any little comment someone makes, isn't it interesting how sometimes those stick longer? But Mel Robbins just wrote this book about let them. And when I read her first chapter about just letting people think the way they do, it doesn't really have to tie you down. It made me have tears in my eyes, because until you reach this point of authenticity that you're writing about in your book, Joy Prescription, we can really be bound down by those negative things. And I hope the next time you raise $1.3 million for other women, you wear you wear something even more stunning than.
Yes, I'm gonna definitely wear something even more scandalous to the next board meeting just to spite her. But yeah, that is exactly the point. And I always say, like, look, honey, if you don't have any haters, you're not working hard enough.
Yeah, that's right. So you know what? When people look at your beautiful family and look at your work behind in the blue room, I keep saying that, people, blue is what most ORs are, and then you're very public, um, uh, key opinion leader. I don't like being called an influencer. I like being called a
I
key
know.
opinion leader. I'm, I'm a
I'm like,
key
don't call me an
opinion.
influencer. It's so
Yeah,
cringe. Don't lump me in with those people. I prefer online content creator, thought leader,
something.
any of those other terms.
You have at least 10 jobs. I want your perspective on work life. I'm not a pro I don't know what to do with the word balance, but work life. How do you do it
We call
all?
it work-life integration.
That's exactly what, because I'm doing everything all the time. So
Yes.
how do you do it? What are some things that, really key things that you do that people could pick up on?
Well, I have excellent help. I'm not going to pretend that I do everything alone. It would be impossible. My husband is wonderful. I have a nanny and I have an executive assistant. So that's my team. That's my tribe. They help me, especially when I'm out of town at speaking engagements or on my book tour. I have mastered, well, maybe I shouldn't say mastered. I have learned the art of delegation, which took
Oh,
me
huge,
several years,
huge.
several years. I was one of those people that was like, nobody cares as much as I do. I can do it right. Then I would delegate something to somebody. They would mess it up. And I'd be like, look over here. I'm cleaning up their mess 2 days late when it would have taken me half the time to just do it myself. Like, look at me. I'm the best. And it's no longer that. One thing that really helped me was Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. It was like
Mhm.
really life-changing for me. And now
Yeah.
he's become a friend. And now my motto is sort of like, if somebody else can get it done 80% as good as me, like and I can delegate it, it's done. And now a lot of the stuff that I do is stuff that only I can do or that only I want to be there doing, like being with my family, taking my kids to their competitions, closing sales deals,
Mhm.
personally inviting speakers that are coming to the summit. Like those are things that I do. But like, working on ancillary stuff,
Mhm.
I'm not in it. Find good people and let them do their job. So delegation really is an art that's taken me several years to learn. And then the other thing is I am just very regimented and scheduled. An ASA unit is 15 minutes. So I think like an anesthesiologist and I basically bill. I'm like, how many RVUs was that? I basically schedule my life in 15-minute increments. I take calls when I'm outside waiting for my kids in the carpool
Yeah.
line. It's like 30 minutes where you just sit there in your SUV. So I take Zoom calls during that time. On the airplane, I'm always working while my husband's like drinking wine and watching movies, and I'm furiously typing, and I get really pissed if the Wi-Fi is not good.
Yeah, yeah.
I take little pockets of time that I can be more productive. And then when I am with my children or with my friends or doing something else, I give myself fully to that. But the
Mhm.
rest of the time, I'm constantly working. And they say that you can't really multitask, but I think I can.
I know. I'm of the same. I will be finishing my part in the OR, gathering my things and managing my family because I've
Yep.
given full attention to this patient and now I'm turned. I agree with you. I understand the science of not multitasking, but it doesn't mean that when you're with your family, you're not with your family. It just
Right.
means that the minute you're not, you're on to your next thing, that you block your time. You know what? Delegation is still hard for me. I'm still impatient enough. It's a lesson most women, I don't want to generalize, but I think lots of women have an issue with. But you have found it to be critical to trust the people.
You get to the breaking point where you have to delegate because
Yeah,
things are building up and you cannot do them anymore yourself. So
yeah,
that's what like forced me to learn how to delegate and delegate well. And this is the thing about delegation. I mean, I could do another hour about it, but you find good people, you spend the investment in
to train them.
well, which is sort of, because the training period, it's like, okay, it's like working with residents, right? I'm like with the first year resident, like watching him intubate, watching him put in an A line, a central line. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I could have just gotten this case started in 15 minutes. You know what I mean? The same thing, like you could have done the case yourself, but you're guiding someone else to do
Yeah,
it. Okay, so that's the first thing with training a good assistant is you have to put in the investment to train them well.
yeah,
Then you create good systems in which they can work. So I have a 16-page SOP, standard operating procedure, that says when Dr. Moon asks you to book travel, this is how you do. She prefers Marriott for hotels. This is how you do. Like it has all the little nitty-gritty things in there. So they at least have some guide to go through. And then as new things come up and we invent new processes for things, I'm always like, add this to the SOP, add this to the SOP, and we refine it. And then in terms of social media, she has an iPhone, I have an iPhone. So we have a shared iPhone folder. And whenever I'm at an event and she's not with me, I upload everything to this shared folder. She cuts the reel and then we work together. So it's like training someone and then creating good systems within which you can work that
yeah.
are not error free, but prevent things from slipping through the cracks.
And I think what this also teaches us, if we learn as we learn to delegate in business, is that even in our houses, we can delegate, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
within our personal lives, there are things we can do. Yes, we are the mothers. Yes, we are the wives, but it doesn't mean that every single thing we have to be the glue for. And I think that's something women struggle with. Like this place would fall apart without me, right?
Yeah, but I think you just have to get rid of that. I mean, I delegate to my children, I delegate to my husband. I'm like, mommy's very busy. Like, you guys go take the dog outside, throw a ball, run around, get some energy out, and after you start delegating and things clear off your plate, you're like, oh, this is kind of
Wow.
nice. You just
Yeah.
have to get over that like initial delegation hump.
Yeah. Well, what do you have on the in the future? What are you excited about in the next 6 months as we wind down here that we can all be looking for in your life?
Well, I mean, I'm really excited to get joy prescriptions in as many hands as possible because I think people will read it and give themselves a little grace. I'm really excited about LeadHer Summit, which is going to be in Dallas from November 7th to 9th.
Mhm.
And then I want to see what all comes from that. I'm trying to grow myself as a speaker. I've always spoken at medical meetings about like
Yeah.
anesthetic techniques and things like
Yeah.
that. But now
Mhm.
I kind of want to get into the motivational speaker, keynoting, that kind of thing. So that's new on the horizon. But I'm just open to new opportunities because I don't feel the need to be perfect. And when I get all these opportunities, it allows me to make meaningful connections with all different sorts of people like yourself. And it makes life so fun.
It is fun. That is perfect. That is the stage of life we're in, right? The joyful, finding fun, and still being really high capacity and getting things done, right?
Yeah, and the girls are such a fun age now that I can like bring them with me to
Yeah.
stuff. They were at LeadHer Summit, passing out swag bags and stuff, and they kind of see what mommy's doing, but I try to incorporate them in as many things as I can. And to be honest, I wasn't like a super big fan of the baby stage, changing diapers and that. It's I'm not a baby person, and now I feel like I can teach them stuff and involve them in things, and it's just so much fun.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
Dr. Tiffany Moon, author of Joy Prescription, entrepreneur. mother, fabulous doctor. Thank you for joining me. I'm so
Thank you
thankful
so
for your
much for
time.
having me.
Thanks for joining us on Hot for Your Health, where we bring you conversations from the bleeding edge of science, health, and culture. You can find links from today's show and connect with me at drvondawright.com. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Dr. Vonda Wright. See you next week.